We have former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper joining us on the phone. Director Clapper, thank you for being with us. I'm sure you've seen all of this, but this package, this 12th package, was addressed to you. It was addressed to you here at CNN, where you are a contributor. 2 days ago, you said that this was domestic terrorism, and now it is targeting you, sir. Your response?
Well, first, Poppy, to you and Jim, just want to commend a great job you did on the street corner there the other day when the package arrived to CNN addressed to John Brennan. It appears that, at least in this case, they got the correct spelling of my name and they got the right network. I guess more seriously, I'm really not surprised and, in some sense, relieved. My wife and I are away from home right now, and our neighbors have been retrieving our mail, been very concerned about them. So in one sense, it's kind of a relief, but it's not a surprise. And yes, this is, as I said last night on with Chris Como, this is definitely domestic terrorism, no question about it in my mind.
Director Clapper, you were, of course, just to remind our viewers, the nation's senior most intelligence official. You had access to intelligence. You tracked threats to U.S. national security around the world and counter terror here at home. Place this in context for us. Have you seen a spate of attempted attacks like this, if we can call it that, domestically, this kind of explosive sent to so many prominent officials? How serious do you view this?
Well, it's serious, obviously, but at the same time, knock on wood, thank God, there have been no injuries or deaths from this. And I guess from what I read, there is some question about whether these things are actually functional or not. You obviously have to assume they are, and whether or not this is just only intended to sow fear, intimidate, that sort of thing, or that they're for real. And I actually don't know that. I do want to just echo one thing that John Brennan said, and that is, this is not going to silence the administration's critics.
To that point, Director Clapper, and it won't stop us, from doing our job every single day. The fact that we are living in this scene where, Jim and I and the entire CNN community had to evacuate from this building just 2 days ago, and now a very eerie and similar scene playing out as we look at these aerial shots of the streets of New York 6 blocks away from CNN. This is terrorizing the American people. What is your message to everyone at home watching, thinking, where could the next one come?
Well, I think anyone who has in any way been a critic of, publicly been a critic of President Trump, needs to be on an extra alert and take some precautions, particularly with respect to mail. But at the same time, we shouldn't get too overblown about it, too overwrought, I guess is the right word. At this point, I have a lot of confidence in all the law enforcement elements involved in this. Certainly NYPD, who's phenomenal, the FBI, and I'm really quite, it's amazing how we look to an organization like the FBI is so professional, so dedicated, and I'm just glad that our president has not characterized them as being in tatters, because this proves once again they're not.
Yeah.
But and I need to include ATF in that too. And so there's a lot of, I know a lot of resource, a lot of dedication, a lot of energy, and a lot of professionalism being dedicated to tracking down the perpetrator or perpetrators. And people should take heart in that.
Well, you make a good point, Director Clapper. Listen, terrorism by definition is designed to terrorize, to strike fear as much as anything else, and you know, we're seeing that. I will say that having been there in New York during one of these, that New Yorkers, yeah, they'll be blocked off their street, but the moment police open that street up, they'll be back, they'll be buying coffee, they'll be walking to work. We saw that on Wednesday. I know we'll see it again. Let me ask you this. The president was up in the middle of the night last night, and he was again taking a shot at the media, its coverage of his response to this. What words, in your view, from the commander-in-chief would be calming, helpful, encouraging to the American people right now? What kind of statement would you like to hear from him?
Well, I thought the teleprompter statement that the president made from the White House initially sounded the right note. I think it would have been a lot more appropriate, a lot more sincere, had he actually named the targets and said something reassuring to them. And as well, I thought it was, and I'm sure it was intentional, not even to mention CNN. And this, you know, this is an assault on one of our most important institutions in this country, which is a free press. And CNN has set the example here by continuing to exercise that important responsibility. And you serve as an example to all the rest of us. We can't stop. We can't stop our lives. We have to go on.
We do. We will.
As far as the president's concerned, I wish, and again, this is purely a fantasy because he's already made it clear that he's not going to do this, and I'm not suggesting a direct cause and effect relationship between anything that he's said or done and these and the distribution of these explosives. But I do think he bears some responsibility for the coarseness and uncivility of the dialogue in this country, and that he needs to remember that his words count. His voice is the most important in this country and for that matter, the world. Yeah. And he should think about that in the way he addresses the country. And so if he could continue what he did the other day when this first announcement, and I think it would have been a lot better had he skipped the rallies because they seem to have an effect on him.
Yeah. Look, Director Clapper, you could not be more right. Words matter, and they matter the most right now. What will we hear from the top? Before you go, sir, again, if you're just joining us, a 12th suspicious package delivered to a mail sorting facility 6 blocks from CNN, addressed to the former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, addressed to him at CNN, where he is a contributor here. Director Clapper, given the prior package sent to John Brennan and other targets, do you have any additional security that people have been putting around you, et cetera? Have any other precautions been taken for you personally?
Well, I probably shouldn't comment on that right now. I probably ought to pass on that.
Understood. Thank you very, very much, Director Clapper.